Welcome back to the Oakwell update for our 11th club podcast. Last weekend was a disappointing result at Bristol Rovers, but it's hard to say that it was a bad performance. What do you think, Callum?
Yeah, it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because you don't want to use that excuse, and you don't just want to use the throwaway comment of it being one of those games, one of those days. But it really did feel like that. How frustrating was it, watching it and just seeing the ball not end up in the back of the net? And ultimately, I guess you do have those days. But I did actually think the performance was really, really good. And I think that the manager, we know how honest Darryl Clarke is in his post-match interviews, how honest he is with the players, constantly, giving them the right confidence and praise, but also, criticising when needed to as well. And after the game, he said the exact same thing, that he couldn't really be too angry about it because there was a lot of positives, a lot of really good patterns of play, combinations, and really, really happy, particularly with the Reds going forward. And throughout the most of the game, it was Barnsley going forward. But you've got to give credit to the opposition as well. We've got to say that, of course, that, I don't think it was Barnsley's day in front of goal, but you've got to credit Bristol Rovers for that. They battled really well, defended really well. Their goalkeeper, I mean, he pulled off a lot of saves at Oakwell in the FA Cup game, didn't he, of course? So he had another good game. So he's clearly a brilliant goalkeeper that's going to earn his side a lot of points this season. And I think he did, not single-handedly at the weekend, but he played a massive part in keeping the score down and preventing Barnsley from adding to the goal that they got. So, a frustrating one. I echo the thoughts of Darryl Clarke. I thought Barnsley played really well. Again, crafted a lot of chances, just didn't quite get the rub of the green at times. Just off the top of my head, I think there was one that was parried towards John Russell, and it just quite bobbled over him at the last moment, and just little things like that where you're just wanting the right look and it's just not falling.
Fine-tuning.
Exactly, it's just not right falling to your path. Like there's another one flew into Max Waters, who really cheekily on the outside of his foot tried to just bend it around him, and it just ended up over the bar and onto the roof of the net. So it's fine margins that I think in the end sounds silly, but Barnsley could have had 3, 4, 5 goals in that game, really, couldn't they? But it wasn't to be. Bristol Rovers were clinical on the counter-attack as well. You've got to give credit to that. They, in the end, just did what they needed to do in both boxes. And unfortunately, that was at the detriment to Barnsley. We weren't able to come away with the 3 points. However, going into that was 4 wins in 4, wasn't it? Maybe the postponement just hampered that momentum that Barnsley had potentially, but they were on a decent run, and I'm sure they'll be able to bounce back. The performance was there, and that's the main thing, isn't it, for the long term?
Absolutely. And speaking about bouncing back, this weekend we're back at Oakwell on the back of 2 wins in a row on home soil against Stevenage. Callum, how important is it for the crowd to be, getting the boys going on Saturday? What do you think? Yeah, absolutely massive. And we've seen at home in the 2 games that Barnsley have had at home so far in 2025, just how important the fans can actually be in getting the team over the line. They've been a huge help, particularly on New Year's Day against Wrexham, when it was a real sort of dogfight in the second half, wasn't it? The fans really behind the team, spurring them on, and that got them over the line in the end. And obviously against Crawley, the sound of their appreciation with a much more comfortable performance. So they are huge. We had Callum Simpson on the pod last week as well, talking about the Barnsley fans. He knows about their support, and he sort of alluded to just how important they can be for the lads on the pitch as well. So they're absolutely massive, and in a game that again is going to be difficult. Stevenage, the sort of mid-table, they're not having as good of a season as they might have hoped, judging on the form last season. They were in and around the playoffs. Steve Evans obviously left towards the back end of last season. Players like Jamie Reid, who had a really good season last year and had a lot of suitors looking for him to potentially sign him. He's just not quite hit the ground running, unfortunately, for them this season. So one or two things aren't quite working out for them, but they've still got the experience, they've still got the quality going forward, and Reid on his day can absolutely score a few goals, can't he? We know that from last season, so it's definitely going to be a difficult game. But I'm hoping again Barnsley can continue that home form. That we've set off on a good point. We know about the home form in 2024, of course, and Stevenage, albeit it will be a difficult game, they've only had 1 win away from home all season. They've been difficult to win away from home.
for them. I think it's 8 points or something like that they've picked up away from home. So they haven't got the best record on the road, but similarly, Barnsley obviously didn't have the best record at home, doesn't it? So you can look at as much as you want into the stats and figures and records. It's about who turns up on the day. And at the moment, Barnsley are performing really well. So I'm hoping they can continue to do that.
So, of course, this week marks 7 years since, sadly, the passing of Patrick Cryne, who was, of course, a legend to all of us and our club owner. This Saturday, we will remember Patrick at our game, but for now, a few familiar faces are remembering him today.
Yeah, the privilege of meeting Patrick, I think it was about 2004, 2005. He wasn't the chairman and owner when I first came in the football club. I think quickly took over the club. Probably 6 months into me being here. My great memories of Patrick is his passion for this football club and community. He was a Barnsley man through and through, a real good family man, had real discipline about him, and that was infectious. I've met him quite numerous occasions outside of football. I always found him to be really funny as well, and dry, which people probably didn't get to see that side of Patrick. But I had an immense pride in knowing him. I think he was a fantastic man. I know he was hard to deal with at times for managers and some staff, but I like that because, you know, he spoke the truth. He was black and white. You knew where you stood with him, and he was a very, very, very loyal person. And if you were loyal to Patrick, he repaid that faith in you. And he was fantastic for me as a player here. Give me the opportunity of coming back, firstly in recruitment, and then obviously as academy manager. So yeah, I've got nothing but the utmost respect for Patrick and the Cryne family. They've been fantastic for this football club and this community, and I don't think they've ever got the credit, and he's never got the credit he deserves really for saving the football club.
An amazing man, you know, such fond memories of him when I was here last time. You know, helped me so much grow as a person over anything else. You know, we had a close connection. You know, granted my wish about, you know, getting my move to Aston Villa. He was a big driver in that and letting me go. And he gave me such an opportunity to become, you know, club captain and move the club forward. So just overall, just huge fond memories. We all miss him to this day now still. Huge part of the club's history. I know obviously James and Jean are flying that flag now. But, you know, he was a terrific man and someone that we always that was still here.
Patrick was fantastic. Obviously, got involved in the club in 2003, 2004. He was very supportive of myself. Obviously, we had a lot of success in that period, going up through the playoffs at Swansea, which was a fantastic day, I'm sure, for himself and his family, Jean and James. We also had an unbelievable cup run, which he, again, was so supportive of the players and gave us some little bonuses, which was fantastic. Great servant of the football club. In that time, he had a lot of success. We were ever present in the championship. Obviously, we come down and he built another fantastic team that got promoted within a year. So yeah, you know, since then, Jean and James have taken over. They've been fantastic for the football club. You know, we know that they love the football club. Their heart is in it, and I'm sure they're very, very proud of what the football club have achieved over their tender, and they will continue to keep supporting the club. And you know, we're thankful, as certainly myself, the support they've given me, the opportunities they've given me themselves and this football club, and I'll always be grateful for that, for what Patrick did for myself and the family.
He stepped in to buy the club in 2003. And it's worth remembering that the club had gone into administration the previous October and had two failed takeovers, with both buyers unable to satisfy the administrator and take the club out of administration. Former director Barry Taylor said of him, "After Reverend Tiverton Preedy, Patrick has probably been the most influential and important person in the history of Barnsley Football Club." As the flag often displayed at the ground says, one made us and one saved us.
Looking ahead to Saturday, our previous encounters with Stevenage have been few and far between. 3 games, 2 defeats and 1 win. That win coming in December 2023, with goals from McAtee and Herbie Kane scoring a 2-1 win. Let's take a look.
So, as always, we will look ahead to the weekend and make our prediction that we seem to do every single week. Now, we've not had the best of luck recently.
No.
I'm going to go to you first, Holly. What do you reckon?
I'm going to say 2-0. I'm feeling quite
confident. Yeah, confident. Clean sheet. Hopefully, obviously, as always, we say it every week. We don't care how the win comes, do we? I'm going to go. I think Barnsley have been playing really well, created a lot of chances last weekend. So I'm going to go 3-0 Barnsley. I'm going to go 3-0 Barnsley. Fingers crossed, the Reds can get the 3 points. So here on the Oakwell Update, we like to give a bit of a behind-the-scenes look on the general operations here at Oakwell. So earlier this week, we spoke to our Chief Commercial Officer, Darren Hayes. So take a look.
Darren, first of all, thank you for your time in sitting down and chatting with us. What has it been like returning to the club then?
No problem at all. Yeah, it's been a bit of a whirlwind, to be fair. 9 weeks in. A lot's changed in the club in 20 years since we were here last time. Some things haven't. And we're constantly looking to improve everything we're doing at the minute. The welcome I've had from within the club and also the town's been fantastic so far. But I realise there's a lot to do and there's a lot of work to be done. And we're on a mission now to get on with that and start to push things forward off the field.
As you say, you've not been here a long time, but a lot of changes have been made already in the commercial sort of department. Just talk us through the sort of mission that you want to sort of achieve and how you're starting to go about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a simple mission. We've got to drive revenue for the club. John's mentioned it on several occasions. You know, revenue off the field is important to the club on non-match days and match days. So my mission realistically is to just look at the options we've got and try and bring as much revenues in as we possibly can. The commercial team, you know, was in place before me coming. I'm working with those now to look at different options, different ways we attempt to get the money from people in a sense of raising the revenue. Match days, we've made subtle improvements already. So things like the way people are welcomed, the service on match days in hospitality. We're going to be obviously doing upgrades over the summer. That will implement more improvement as we go along. So I think it's a start, but there's a lot to do.
Yeah, you mentioned there about the developments. Of course, it was announced at the start of last year the sort of council movement and the benefits that would bring to the town and the club. I know there's no finalised plans as such yet, but it gives an idea of what will be improved in the commercial department, in the commercial areas with that sort of capex.
Yeah, a lot of work has been ongoing for quite a while. I've been involved in quite a bit of it since I've come in. The fan zone has been talked about on numerous occasions. It'll be a great option for us on match days, but also looking at using that on non-match days. It's another part of the Oakwell Stadium and the venue, so it simply will be used more and more. In terms of hospitality and kind of more on the commercial side, improvements to lounges, improvements to across the floor, executive floor, new areas that will offer different approaches to match days for customers out there that wanted to do a little bit more than just sit in the stands, options for different eating options and drinking options as well. So it will have a different feel to it completely next year.
And as you mentioned a couple of times already in this interview, focus on non-match days as well, recognising that Oakwell's not just a venue on a Saturday afternoon or a Tuesday night or whatever it may be. It's a venue for all times of the year. I imagine that's the start of. We've seen the start of that move with the Cheltenham event and the evening with Darryl Clark. Is that the start of a drive to sort of create more events like that?
Yeah, definitely. Again, as you mentioned, you know, it's a multifunctional venue that has to be used, and it's an asset that we have to use more. So we've started a few events already, so they've started coming into fruition and starting to be advertised. The plan is to get more diverse events. You know, we're looking at music festivals, we're looking at evenings with different sporting arenas apart from football and Barnsley Football Club. So it's across the spectrum really, in a sense of what we can offer. I don't think anything's off the table. You know, we've been talking in the office last week about, you know, junior football presentations. Why aren't we hosting them at Oakwell? You know, why aren't we getting people to use Oakwell as a venue on any day, particularly on a non-match day? So it's the start. There's a lot to do, but we will continue to push that forward as well.
You mentioned there an event that's not necessarily related to the club, but could be hosted at Oakwell. I imagine there's a lot of conferences, events that you'd want to bring into our hospitality spaces. Just talk a bit more about that and the opportunities they present.
Yeah, again, we've already mentioned that there's, you know, the events of running that way through the day. You know, we sat now in an executive box. You know, executive boxes can be hired. You know, we're struggling within town for meeting spaces. We've got parking, we've got the facilities here. We need to encourage businesses and individuals to book parties, to book conferences, to host training sessions within Oakwell. It's here, it's open, it's ready for business, and I think it's just informing people and making sure that they're aware that they can just come down and book and visit the venue and look round. You know, we've hosted weddings, we continue to push weddings, continue to push birthday parties. As I say, it's become such a multifunctional venue now. That's the way forward. Obviously, we hosted Callum's fight last summer. That was the first kind of non-football event, in a sense, on the pitch that we'd had. There's nothing to stop us having concerts. There's nothing to stop us having bigger and better events as well, that we use the pitch in the window. So I think it's just a case of looking at how we talk to people and how we make it welcoming for people to come in and understand that it's not just football on a Saturday and a Tuesday night.
Yeah. And in terms of looking at how fans can access that and get onto that, has that process been underway? That there's looking at, you know, from how it's advertised to the point of booking. Has that process been looked at?
Yeah, we started on it. It's certainly better. You know, we've got hospitality now that you can book online. You know, at the minute, we've not been able to book hospitality online, so the events are online, so they can book through the ticket office. We're planning to put kind of matchday hospitality online as well. The website needs improving from showing what we can offer and where we can offer it. That is all in process, and I'm hoping it'll be done fairly quick. Yeah, we need to look at how we market things better. We've certainly done that in the past, and it can improve, and that's part of what I'm looking at. You know, it's not just setting them up, the events, we've got to make sure people are aware of them. So we're working with different partners on that to improve it as well.
And whilst these changes and improvements are constantly being reviewed and looked at to ultimately benefit the club off the pitch, I imagine that matters on the pitch do matter quite a lot as well to everyone behind the scenes, because, you know, ultimately promotion brings a lot of benefits, and one of those is commercially.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you know, being a championship club makes a big difference, not just from TV money, but where people sit and look at from a global brand. You know, football is changing. You know, the deals in the US now are making sure that even at League One level that people are aware of the football in the UK. But I think if we go up to the championship, it becomes a different ball game altogether. I think from terms of revenues coming in from that and commercialism, it will only improve. The match day is important. You know, we want to get to a point where people are coming to it to enjoy the hospitality, you know, regardless of the result. When the results are good, we see a bounce from a commercial point of view as well. So the better the results are, you know, it improves and helps the commercial department. But on the same proviso, we need to make our offering bigger and better, that people aren't just dependent on the result as well, and they come and enjoy the hospitality. And we've had reports and rebookings in the last 6-8 weeks that people have come and enjoyed it, and it hasn't necessarily just been about the football, it's been about what we offer when they get here. So that's an important aspect as well.
Looking to the end of the season then, we've got several home games remaining of the 24-25 campaign. Just talk about how we're looking commercially going forward for the remaining games in terms of, you know, the properties that we've got on offer. Just You know, just looking at that and the shape of it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a number of sponsorship opportunities still available for match day sponsorships. We host 3 in a sense: the main match, the match ball, and the programme. There are a few games where there's availability left, so obviously we'll be looking to fill those gaps. We want ideally to have each of those 3 packages sold for each game. As I say, quite a few are already sold for the season, but there are some left. In terms of hospitality, in particular on match days, there's a few games, you know, Huddersfield is well and truly sold out. You know, there's very few seats left. You know, if people do want to book for Huddersfield, I would advise people to get in touch quick, because the sold sign will be going up very quickly. Other games like Lincoln are selling really well. The last game of the season is selling very well. So again, we're already kind of seeing that bounce and people coming back to book. But obviously, you know, as we develop and hopefully, you know, we all hope that we're in the playoffs and pushing forward, I think that'll increase as well, especially when people are coming and enjoying it and want to come back the week after them.
Well, Darren, really appreciate your insight. Great to hear about everything that's going on in the commercial department, and I'm sure we'll catch up with you soon. Give you time once again.
Thank you.
Of course, the Northampton game couldn't go ahead because of the frozen pitch, but it has been rearranged to the 25th of February, and we look forward to seeing you all there. So thank you very much for joining us on the Oakwell update for our 11th episode, and we look forward to seeing you back next week. But for now, I've been Holly Tandy.
I've been Callum Cooper.
You Reds.